right. I'm good. This is the first time we've actually ever done an intro to one of our own one-on-one podcast episodes. So super excited about that. First time intro.
Happy Monday. Oh,
it's not even Monday. It's Wednesday.
It'll be Monday when they listen to it because that's when it comes out.
Oh, okay. Good call.
Or it could be another day, I guess.
Anyway, the reason we're doing the intro is that we wanted to quickly promote. There's two things. The first reason is we want to promote our annual international couples trip, the first annual
Couples Adventure.
We
don't want to call it a retreat because that's a terrible movie and it's nothing like that.
No, we've done. This will be our fourth one, but this will be our first one that we're doing solo. And it's going to be in Spain, in the south of Spain.
Andalusia
region of Spain.
Or Andalusia if you're gringo speaking.
September 26th through October 4th. We basically, you'd be responsible for getting yourself to Malaga in Spain on sometime on the 4th. And
that's the end of the trip.
I'm sorry, 26th. And then we take over from there. You don't have to worry about anything. We've got all of your transportation, hotels, food, everything taken care of, with the exception of 1 or 2 stray meals, which would be like more lunch or breakfast related. But for the most part, everything's taken care of. Anyway, we spend the first night in Malaga while everybody gets situated. And then the next morning, we will be driving to an incredible town called Ronda, spelled R-H-O-N-D-A. All this is also on our website at biggerlove.com under couples trips. We spend a night. On the way to Ronda, we're going to hike the Caminito del Rey, which is a super cool hike. It used to be called the world's most dangerous hike because it was this incredibly rickety walkway through the cliff sides, but they've since made it super safe, and thousands of people do it every day. So
it looks really,
but it still looks super cool.
Cool, yeah.
Google it, Caminito del Rey, and then we go on to Ronda.
Wait, I want to take a second right now. Is that okay?
No.
Okay, keep going.
What's your second?
Well, I just want to say that if that starts to scare you, that's part of the experience, right? I mean, part of what we try to create on these couples adventures is a little bit of taking you out of your comfort zone so that you can grow. And those experiences have been known to create intimacy in relationships.
Yeah, it's about growing together.
Growing together.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, keep going.
And everything is 100% optional too. So if you're a couple who is in 100% agreement that we both hate heights and we're not doing that,
or hiking, we're not into hiking, then you don't have to come.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bar close by.
No.
Oh, there's not.
But it's 2 hours. It's 2.5 hours tops, I think. It's not a big chunk of time. So anyway, then we go to Ronda. And if we drove straight to Ronda from Malaga, we're talking about less than 2 hours. And then this Caminito del Rey is on the way. So we're not, at no point are we on the road for a significant amount of time on this trip. We spend the night in Ronda, overlooking the beautiful gorge at a hotel. And then, we do dinner and
look that up on the internet. If you're interested in coming on this trip, look up Ronda and check out that place that's hanging.
And I'm not going to go into too much detail on what we're doing every day while we're there, because just walking out your front door and exploring on your own is enough. We're not going to just do that. We have a lot of other secrets planned, but these towns, when you look at them, you're like, wow, we're going to be there for one night. Okay, well, I want to go explore. And we're going to do a lot of that kind of stuff. The next day, day 3, we will be driving to Sevilla.
Or Seville.
Yeah, pronounced Seville in the United States if you own a Buick. And in Spain, they call it Sevilla. And we'll be there for 3 nights and 4 days. And we're staying at a 10-bedroom.
No, 5-bedroom.
5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home there. And we have an overflow place next door if we need it. And while we're there, we're going to do a few tours. One involves segways. So we get to ride those bad boys. And
those are what the mall cops use?
Yeah, Paul Blart vehicles. And then we have teed up you've heard her on our 4th podcast.
She's been on one of our podcasts, Lori Handlers.
Yeah, she's gonna come down and spend a day with us and
teaching us about Tantra
intimacy.
and intimacy.
Yep. And then
she's a sexpert.
Yep. And
Sevilla is beautiful too. A lot of Game of Thrones. If you're a Game of Thrones junkie, a lot of the castle scenes in Game of Thrones were filmed in Sevilla. So the castles are amazing.
Just the ones from Dorne. If you're familiar with Dorne, the Dornish.
Oh.
It was only those castle scenes.
Oh, well, it's still awesome.
Anyway, then, actually, maybe some of the ones from across the ocean too.
Yeah.
But we'll be there, and then on the 5th day we go, or 6th day, I can't remember. We go to, and again, all this is on the website. We will go to Gibraltar, which is about another hour and 45-minute 2-hour drive tops. And Gibraltar is, you drive, you're in Spain, and then all of a sudden you go through a border check and you're back in Great Britain.
And it's just like a giant rock.
Yep.
The Rock of Gibraltar. Prudential Insurance. I think that's their logo. Gibraltar, right? The Rock of Gibraltar.
So we're going to go to the top of the rock. We're going to hang out with some monkeys.
Yeah, monkeys. That's the only place in Europe where monkeys live.
I don't know if they're indigenous, but they are to that place.
They're to the rock. I think they came from Africa, right? Which is like, you can see Africa from the Rock of Gibraltar.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
And you really can see it too. It's not like Sarah Palin. But the, yeah. So, and then we're going to stay on the Sunborn yacht, which is a super yacht. Very luxurious, has 3 or 4 restaurants on it, a casino. The reason for that is it's badass, number one, and number two, there aren't that many. All the hotels are like little teeny inns, and there weren't that many that could take 10 or more people. So this worked out perfectly, and we get a little pampering done, which is awesome on these couples adventures. So we'll be there the last night, and then the next morning it's back to Malaga, and Sam and I are going to probably hang out in that area for a couple more nights for anybody that wants to stay, since it's just a Friday. But some people are going to want to get home to their kids and that kind of thing, which we totally get. So that's an option.
Yeah. So if you're at all interested in coming and hanging out with us, we have a lot of, like he said, surprises planned. We do some, exercises for we'd have exercises and activities to create intimacy in your relationship. And we have some challenges, and we do a little bit of chatting about whatever, and we're available to chat about whatever. And we have group discussions usually during meals. And it's a lot about the adventure, but it's also about hanging out with other couples who want to up-level their relationships. It's all of our couples trips have been, for me, amazing, super fun. And we always have great reviews from all the people who come. So
yep.
If you're interested, check out the website. I think there's a registration on there, and come with us.
Love to have you. And then the second thing I wanted to mention in this intro is we were going to just edit it out, but I think we're going to leave it in because we had a not so perfect moment where I made a comment in the middle of this podcast coming up that Sam didn't like too much.
I had to take a time out. I got mad. My temper flared up. And then I couldn't say anything. I had to take a little time out, and then I came back. I was over it.
So there's that. There's that to look forward to, and we'll see.
But
if
you watch the video, you can see me do a big old eye roll, like
it's a little pouty
a little pouty and a little eye roll. So yeah, we're gonna leave that in.
All
right. We hope you enjoy. Hello from Mountain City, Tennessee.
It's technically Laurel Bloomery, Tennessee. Mountain City is about 12 miles away.
Well, the mailing address I've been changing everything to says Mountain City.
I know, but if you type Mountain City in when you're looking for directions, you're going to be 10 minutes off every time.
Details.
Just trying to get people straight. Anywho.
And if you don't know where that is, it's because nobody knows where that is.
And even though you're 20 miles away from everything, it's still an hour. Super windy roads here.
Yep. We're up in the mountains, obviously, Mountain City. We're right in we're in the northeast corner of Tennessee, right?
Yeah, right where I think we're about 35 miles from North Carolina. We're about 10 miles
from Virginia, because Damascus is Virginia, right?
And then so if we go south and then north, so we're about 40 miles tops from Kentucky.
So we're right here in the middle of everything. but it's sort of in the middle of nowhere, everything.
Yeah. We're coming at you live from Tenalina, Kentucky. In the RV. We're also podcasting in our RV because we want to set all of our equipment up and leave it set up. And the
RV is sitting in the driveway of Patty's mom's house.
Yep. 100 feet from the router, maybe less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
So we're here. We made it.
The shit out of everybody. So let's get on with it.
All right. So we were going to talk about how absence makes the heart, or maybe the libido, grow fonder.
They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. And in the first recording of this podcast, we elaborated on that a little bit, but then we lost the internet, which could happen again. And so we started over. But technically, I'm going to give you guys the synopsis or the summary versus the long-winded explanation we had before. But that is that we determined that maybe absence makes the boner grow fonder.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
But also makes I think sometimes when you're missing somebody, you get that little pit, you know what I mean, in your stomach. Maybe that's the heart.
I never felt a pit in my stomach.
Well, I know that. Okay, so here's what I'll say. My final analysis on the libido side of it is that I think that if you're apart, and we were apart for what, 10 days?
Yeah, I think 10 days.
So,
and we didn't talk that much.
And we talked every day.
Yeah, but for maybe a minute or two, like, hey, how's the day? Good. How's yours? Good. Okay, love you. Let's talk to you tomorrow.
That's true. So we didn't get there wasn't a lot of intimate time between us, except for maybe on our anniversary. We had a long talk.
Yeah.
But
that
was
15 minutes long.
But I booked you a hotel room with a bathtub and a free mini bar. I mean, what?
It was pretty sweet. And I was within walking distance of a brewery, Flyaway. Had great food.
Yep. They had crawdad nachos, and I wasn't there to eat them.
Yeah.
And Sam wouldn't order them for me.
I don't really think I would need to eat that. I like crawdads okay, but I thought that I ended up having the buffalo chicken sweet potato fries. Buffalo chicken sweet potato cheese fries.
Yep. Pretty sure our audience is completely out of fucks to give on that one.
What? They were so good. But they give a fuck about your crawdad nachos?
No, they were wishing they could have had some.
Whatever. They wish they could have mine.
Anyway, the reason we're talking about absence makes the heart grow fonder is we kicked off Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity. And I listened to the first half of it with Sam a month ago and then forgot when I was driving across country by myself to listen to the other half. But Sam did.
I finished it. I finished listening to it.
And then she told me all about it. Now I don't feel like I need to read the other half, but I will anyway because I was enjoying it once I got over the
It's a great
accent.
book. I really enjoyed it. And I want her to come on the podcast. That might not happen for a few years. So
no, we're putting that out in the universe.
Yeah,
any of our listeners that can connect those degrees of separation, we'll love you for it.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I listened to the remainder of that book. But part of why I wanted to do this podcast is, as we were talking about, we were apart for 10 days. And then when I got here, I mean, I didn't come in and rip your clothes off because your mom lives here still. And our son lives down the hill and he was here too. So there's a lot, it felt like there was a welcoming party. But, the next day we had some amazing loving. I think some of the best loving we've had in, I don't want to say years, but months maybe. It was a good romp.
I don't keep track. I just know that when you get up with that smile on your face and give me the high five, that it was a job well done.
It was definitely a job well done.
Yeah.
And I wondered if it was partly due because we hadn't had sex in a while. We hadn't seen each other and there was some separation there. And it got me thinking about mating in captivity and what she talks about in that book and here's my take on it, that home life and creating a a stable environment for the family and comfort in a loving, secure relationship, stability, if you will, stability and security. That's necessary for long-term relationships, I think you would agree, and family life. But that's not necessarily that great for your erotic life, your sexual life. She thinks, she believes, and has a lot of data with her clients to back up the fact that eroticism thrives more in an environment of mystery, not quite as much emotional intimacy, spontaneity. Feel free to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. All the things that make good sex awesome.
Well, right? Do you think that's true though? Like for me, I don't know that that's even true.
Well, I want to talk about what you were just saying before about, because there is a theme in the book where they talk about the difference between erotic sex, or being in an erotic relationship and a relationship of not convenience. What'd you call it?
Comfort,
comfort, relationship of comfort,
stability and security.
Yeah,
like
but stability,
family.
Right. When you're in a family and you have stability and you have security, though, those are two things that fulfill one of your basic human needs, which is safety, right?
Yeah.
Where does eroticism fall into any of the basic human needs? I mean, you think?
I've seen it argued that it does.
I think sex is a basic human need for a vast majority of people.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's another topic for another day when we do some more research and know what the fuck we're talking about. Or me, anyway.
Well, I don't know that arguing whether it's a basic human need or not makes it any less important. I believe that, I mean, there are plenty of, as she discusses, there are plenty of relationships where neither person is that sexual, and you have a relationship that doesn't include a lot of sex because neither person cares. However, in more cases, you have relationships where one person cares and wants an active, healthy sex life, and the other person maybe doesn't care as much. And that's where you run into problems.
Well, oftentimes, too, the person that doesn't care as much is feeling like maybe they've lost that love and feeling a little bit, or that because that mystery, that all the things you mentioned before aren't there anymore.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people start to not feel that way.
Right.
Like children, like when you have children, suddenly you have this dynamic where your lover, for example, is now a mother. And now you look at your partner in a different light, and now they're also feeling differently. Like a mother often gets so much touch and attention from their new babies and small children, where they're constantly being touched, and it's a sensual experience with a mother and a child. I don't know that I would say sexual, but it's sensual. And so now you don't need that same kind of touch and sensual experience from your partner. You're getting overwhelmed with it with your children. So there are a lot of reasons why, after you have kids especially, that this tends to happen.
Were you also alluding to the fact that sometimes in a relationship, when you have kids, that maybe the husband looks at the wife differently because she's the mother of their kids? And
some men have a hard time eroticizing that, the women's bodies, this is just the physical part. A woman's body changes. Now she has breasts that are for feeding the child, not just for his sexual pleasure. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, but also I think a lot of men feel dirty having sex with a mother. Like she in her book talks about a couple of examples where men had a hard time, really getting erotic with their partners that were now mothers.
I got one answer for those guys.
Oh boy, here we go. What is it?
Just think about it, though. I mean, for every person out there that's feeling that way, just know that your kid's mom is another man's MILF.
I I don't know that it is so much that they don't find them sexy. I think it has to do more with like the religious mother virgin cultural ideas about what a motherly figure is supposed to be like, and worrying about like Oedipus complex kind of shit, like I think it's more I think it's not so much that they don't find their partner sexy, but it's that it's twisted mentally. Does that make sense?
I
Or
don't know.
emotionally?
I feel like we're off course because now we're getting into some
Stuff we
seriously
don't really
subjective
know.
shit that we probably need to do more research on, namely probably more so me before I talk to it. Because right now all I can do is give you screwed up looking faces. Like, say what?
Yeah, because you didn't read the whole book.
No, it's not about that as much as
Well,
it's
she
about.
talks
I feel
about
like
all this in the book.
I know that she talks about some of this in the book, but and that it exists, but I mean that it opens up a whole nother. How often does it exist? You know what I mean? Type question.
Well, and I mean, there's also that fantasy about getting dirt, kind of dirty. Like she talks about in her book this example of this couple where he was having a really difficult time eroticizing her, and so she decided to create this way of eroticizing herself by making him pay money.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Don't we
suddenly,
do that anyway?
what do you mean? Do you pay me for sex?
No, but you spend a lot of money that I wouldn't have spent myself because we're
Well, what
married.
about the money that you spend that I
Well,
wouldn't
it's
have
too. It doesn't matter, man or woman. I'm just
spent?
saying, there's in a relationship. I think it costs a lot more money to be in a relationship than it does to not be.
Yeah, but this is different. This is like thinking about your lover more like a whore or like a Jezebel and like that kind of fantasy.
What is a Jezebel?
I think it just means hooker. It's like a fancy name for hooker.
Was there
Ho.
a hooker named Jezebel way back in the day? Is that the
It
biblical
might
thing?
be yeah, I'm thinking it's biblical.
Now we're gonna have all the people that are super religious and know the Bible go, oh my God, that's such an easy one. Sorry. You read the Bible, didn't you?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
Anyway, no, I get that. So you're saying that she had to create a different image of herself for him to be able to get the freak on.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of being so careful about the mother of his children and thinking of her in that way, instead of thinking of her as his sexy, hot, smoking lover.
There are honestly, and I think we've talked about this before. There's three kinds of sex, in my opinion. I'm gonna put them in
I
three
think there's
categories.
more than three, but go ahead.
Well, there's taking one for the team, right? Like let's just I'm gonna bend over, you get it on, or I'm gonna go down on you, you go ahead, and we'll worry about me later, type thing, right? Taking one for the team.
Yeah, we have that kind of sex.
And then there's like making love, where you're kind of, slow, deliberate. There's a lot more emotional connection and from, you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
And romance.
Oh yeah, that stuff's in there somewhere.
Lots of foreplay.
Yeah, that's all good. Well, foreplay has a place in all three, in my opinion.
Okay. Even the take one for the team? I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Limpy isn't going to bring much to the party if there's no foreplay. Anyway, the
Mr. Limpy? I don't think we should call him that.
Anyway,
it's okay, little buddy. He didn't mean it.
Anyway, and then the third kind is just like,
fucking.
Yeah, fucking. We call it fucking. Just getting freaky, just getting after it, slapping and screaming and having fun. So I'm sure there's multiple other kinds out there, but those seem to be the three predominant ones in our relationship. So you're saying that the last one, which I think has as much of a place as any of them. I mean, I don't know if there's an equal. What would you say between the three percentage wise?
That we do it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd say like 15 to 20, take them one for the team, maybe 15, and then 50-50 on the other two.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's a big chunk. In other words, that's
Or
like
more fucking probably than the romantic long. Like, I don't know. It's not, I feel like we don't have a whole lot of times where we're taking the long road.
so if you have a what do you call that word? I don't know, if you have a barrier that you've built up about getting freaky with your wife, that's 50% or more of your sex life.
Could be.
If it was like us, yeah. All right. So how does this all relate to our theme, which was absence makes the boner grow or the heart grow fonder? I don't want that.
Well, I just wanted to know if you thought it was true. Well, I mean, we went off on a tangent talking about Esther Perel's book and, you know, kind of some of the things that they said in there about when your sex life is waning, some of the causes of that, and we sort of went down that road instead of talking about absence. Because one of the things that she says again is creating one way to stay in a monogamous relationship when you're in the secure, stable, comfortable home life is to create some space from one another, to create some space for some mystery and some separation, because then the separation allows you to come together and have the sex be that much better. And I think she says it a lot more eloquently. But what do you think about that? Do you think that creating, like, when I think about creating space, there's physical space, which we had when we were both coming here for 10 days, and emotional space. I mean, we had kind of all the different kinds of space because we didn't talk very much. There wasn't, there was physical space. I'm wondering, though, when you're living in a home together, I think there are also ways to create space to allow for that eroticism. I don't even know if I believe that I'm trying to decide if I agree with her philosophy that you need this space and this mystery and the spontaneity to have great sex. And I think she talks a lot about resparking eros. I don't know. I mean, do you feel like we go in and out of eros in our relationship? I mean, that's the one that we talk about at the very beginning.
Can I talk now? You asked me 3 questions. I don't know why people think I talk over you, because you ask questions and then you keep talking. And I don't even get a chance to answer them. Just kidding. So the first question you asked me is, what do I think? Did that make you mad, honey? The first question that, I guess we'll edit that part out. I made Sam mad. The first part about what do I think about creating space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was absolutely. And one of the things you didn't even mention was like attraction, because and we've talked about this all the time. You need to have your own space where you do your own thing, right? And people that do their own thing and take time out for themselves and are self-full, right?
Yeah.
Are attractive. They're more attractive. So there's attraction that goes into that mix also. But then, and you've done this multiple times where you're like, okay, I just need me time, jump in the RV and you drive off and you're gone for 3 or 4 days. And I miss you and I worry about you and I'm really glad when you get home. So there's that part of it also. And then when there's a prolonged absence, like we just had, 10 days is a long time for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about getting you here, hugging on you, cuddling with you, and then seeing you naked. So I definitely think absence makes the heart grow fonder. And then the second thing you were talking about was almost every time she mentioned resparking eros, I was like, that kind of, it's not necessarily the same. I think the use of the word eros was maybe off-putting for us because of how we've defined those and how a lot of the definitions have defined that as a not lasting, and that a kind of love that doesn't last, right? And you progress into the better
That's our take, right? Is that we went from Eros to the different kinds of love that we think are deeper, more meaningful, and just as good as Eros. But I think there are a lot of people who really want Eros to last and are trying desperately to respark that. And I got the feeling from the book that that was part of what she was trying, part of her, the question she was trying to answer was, can you still respark that same kind of Eros, mad, passionate love in a long-term relationship? And if you can, what are the ways that you can do that?
I think absence is where our theme comes full circle. Would be the only, in my opinion, the easiest way to do that would be spending a little bit of time apart and then being super excited to see each other and being super horny for each other and everything else. But also, I think Ludus is a almost a better example. It's that playful, don't you think?
Well, again, I think what she was trying to do was say that you can respark Eros by doing certain things, and I don't know that I've refelt Eros in all of its passion like when we were first together. Maybe when we got back together, it was like that for a while after we'd been apart for a year.
If you went to I don't want to confuse.
I mean, we're talking about all the brain chemicals that happen when you're madly in love, right? We're talking about low levels of serotonin, high levels of oxytocin, and what's the one that makes you kind of crazy? We were talking about this the other day. I can't remember what it's called.
Was that the one?
Slipped my mind. It's the one what happens when you do cocaine.
It's not adrenaline. It's God dang it. We talk about this in like 6 different. Oh well, doesn't matter. There's there's 6 or 7 chemicals in your brain that fire off
when you're in Eros.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think she was really trying to see if you could get back to that in a long-term relationship. And one of the ways was to, create some distance between the two people.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can have flashes of it. I don't think you'll get back to, because I think for me, my own perspective, a lot of the butterflies and all that was it's not so much as like, maybe it's a kind of insecurity where you're like, oh God, I hope this lasts, and I hope I hope this doesn't change, and so you've got all this stuff going on. I mean, to me, the butterflies I'm super grateful I don't have those anymore, because those would tie you up with uncertainty.
Well, the low levels of serotonin are also, people who have OCD also have low levels of serotonin. So that's why, when they say crazy in love, well, that's kind of what they're talking about, is those, the insecurity, the jealousy, and all of those things that Esther Perel describes as fueling eroticism.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's anything I desire in my life anymore.
Well, you've never really had jealousy, but I have. So I can definitely see, like, if you went away for a week and you were at some convention where there's all these eligible bachelors who were flirting with you all the time, I guarantee you my heart would grow fonder. When you got home unscathed,
because you'd be jealous, or what?
I'd just be, yeah. I mean, there's a low level of probably insecurity in there somewhere where you're like, oh God, but that's something I've also worked pretty hard on getting rid of. So
I'm appreciative of that, because that gives me a lot more independence and not having to worry about, you being worried, I guess, about me.
Yep. Although some of my worries are legit. You get, I mean, you're just a nice person and you talk to everybody. Didn't somebody follow you home from the bar in Little Rock?
Yeah. Yeah. They did. They were trying to. I just started walking very quickly until I got to my hotel room and my hotel, and quickly opened and closed the locking door in the front. That was a little bit, but I'm not trying. I mean, I'm, again, like, we had this conversation that night. I didn't mean to. I didn't think I was flirting at all. I was just having a conversation with the guy sitting next to me, but
yeah,
he must have misread I told him I was married and I,
Yeah.
worked in relationships. And how do you try to follow somebody home that just told you that? Maybe he had too many beers too, baby.
Well, I just know how creepy men can be, and that's where my worry probably comes from. But although
How do you know that? Okay, that's a weird thing.
No, I was just trying to think about that. Do I have any friends or have ever known anybody that would have behaved that way? And honestly, I don't. So, but I've heard about them, and I know they're out there.
Well, and this guy was, I don't want to say he was socially awkward, but he was kind of a socially awkward
he had low
guy.
levels of serotonin.
Perhaps.
All right, so I think we've determined that spending a little bit of time apart is a good thing for your relationship.
Yeah, and I think doing that in like a way where we're supportive of each other, taking that time to do whatever we need to do. In this case, it was we're moving, but a lot of people were like, "Well, you guys are driving separately," but then I got to take a trip with our daughter, and you graciously, allow me that freedom, and you trust me to go do that by myself. And I hear about, husbands who would never let their wife go anywhere by themselves. They think it's dangerous. And I'm just so grateful that you're not like that. I really, really appreciate that.
Thanks,
I love
honey.
that about you.
I like that about me too, even though I still worry.
Yeah, but you keep it to yourself pretty well. Like you're not pushing that on me when I'm out and about.
There might have been one day where I called you 9 times.
What?
I'm trying to remember. Well, I called and texted you a bunch of times because I hadn't heard from you, and I just wanted to make sure it was a signal thing, which it was.
Oh yeah, it was a signal. Yeah, you're right. I didn't have a signal.
So,
but everything was fine.
Yeah, everything was all good. No need to worry, which is 99.9% of the time the case.
Yeah.
It's that 0.1 that's the bitch.
And also you go off
0.01.
and you go off and do your own thing, and I also feel like I give you space and time to go do your thing. And
yep.
Am I more sexy because of that?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I think we need to end this podcast.
Okay, time to go.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.